Frazier and Ali, Tyson and Holyfield, Conor and Khabib, all great rivalries in their own right, but none of them compare to the classic showdown between these two giants. That's right, with the release of Godzilla vs. Kong right around the corner, I thought it would be fun to see these two go head to head where it really counts, on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So today we're going to take a look at what each of these behemoths have to offer on our favorite 8-bit system, and in the end, only one will reign supreme. Welcome back everyone, Borphling here. Before we start, I want to make something perfectly clear. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I absolutely loved watching these movies as a kid, and to this day, I try to pick up as many as I can, like this set from the Criterion Collection. And as much as it hurt my wallet, I couldn't help but pick up these incredible, intricately detailed, stupidly expensive vinyl statues. And hell, Godzilla even watches over me as I sleep. Then over here, representing King Kong, I've got an old Transformers monkey and a copy of Donkey Kong Classics. See, I don't own any King Kong merch, or the game we're going to be looking at today, so these were the best props that I had. Anyways, despite my love for this big guy, rest assured that I'll be as unbiased as possible when it comes to judging these two games. And what are the two games we're going to be looking at today? Well, we've got Godzilla for the NES and King Kong 2 for the Famicom. Oh, and before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I'm getting really close to 100 subscribers, so your support will really help. Now with that out of the way, let's get into it. Up first, let's check out Godzilla for the NES. Godzilla Monster of Monsters was developed by Compile and hit the US in October of 1989 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's one of only 5 NES games published by Toho, the same production company that distributes all the Godzilla films. It's a little weird that they decided to call Godzilla the Monster of Monsters, since he usually goes by the moniker King of the Monsters. It almost makes this feel like some kind of bootleg Godzilla game. Right off the bat, something just feels off here. The main theme song doesn't sound anything like the iconic and ominous Godzilla song from the movies, and you can tell that even Godzilla is ashamed to be a part of this. I mean, he can't even bear to look at us. After the title screen, we're presented with a few choices. You got New Game, Last Game, and of course, Password Game. Upon starting a new game, we're greeted with an introductory story crawl, and dear lord does it crawl. I'm gonna speed it up here, but at its native speed it takes them just under 3 minutes to write out 2 sentences. The basic story is simple. Invaders from Planet X are coming to attack our solar system, and it's up to Godzilla and Mothra to protect it. That's it. They could have explained it in a matter of seconds, but no, it took them 3 whole minutes to write it out. The game is broken up between several planets, each being represented by this board game style grid. Each space on the board represents a different side-scrolling level, and when one of your characters lands on that space, you're gonna have to play through the corresponding level. And this is where the gameplay really begins. Each level is a pretty straightforward layout in which Mothra or Godzilla, who has this nasty case of forward head tilt, do their best to walk to the right and try to reach the end of the level. To be honest, the game was actually pretty fun for like 10 minutes. Every single level pits you up against an onslaught of enemies that are just constantly raining shit down upon you. It gets old really fast. As Godzilla, you can walk forward and backward, jump and duck, and his offensive arsenal consists of scratching and kicking with his little arms and legs. He can do a tail whip while ducking, and of course he has his atomic breath, which will consume some of his power meter when used. Unfortunately, his sprite is pretty huge, and he's also slow as shit, so most of the projectiles flying at you are just completely unavoidable. Your goal is just to get through the level as quickly as possible so you can avoid watching Godzilla suffer. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. Not only is there a horde of enemies for you to get through, but there's also environmental obstacles as well. In fact, you're going to be spending most of your time just beating the shit out of rocks, volcanoes, and these green things, and whatever else gets in your way. Thankfully, the game is pretty generous when it comes to healing items, and most of the enemies don't do a lot of damage, but every once in a while something will come out of nowhere and just absolutely obliterate me. Like, what the fuck was that? I just died in a single hit. What was I supposed to do? Mothra, on the other hand, is a lot more agile, and she can fly in all directions, which makes it a lot easier to avoid incoming attacks. Her main attack is a projectile, and she can use her power meter to drop these weird Mothra-colored sticks on people. While Mothra's ability to fly might seem like it gives her a huge advantage, she gets knocked back on almost every hit, all the way to the bottom left of the screen. This can be extremely frustrating, and there have even been times where I've been so overwhelmed with enemy attacks, I just couldn't move forward. And a few times, I get pushed back behind some obstacle that I just couldn't destroy, so I just have to sit there and watch Mothra get beaten to death. Once you beat your level and finish your turn, the computer gets a chance to move around one of the boss monsters. If you move to a spot adjacent to them on your turn, you get to initiate a boss battle, but not before you have to go through another one of these terrible side-scrolling levels. Success in these side-scrolling levels really comes down to who can spam their attacks the most, you or your enemies. finally, when you reach the end of that level, you get to the most exciting part of the game, the epic Kaiju battles. Except they're not epic at all. What these battles end up looking like are just two sprites mindlessly jumping around, slapping and scratching each other until one of them dies. At least you get to fight a decent cast of Kaiju. You've got Gizora, Moguera, Varan, Hedorah, Baragon, Gigan, Mechagodzilla, and of course, King Ghidorah. Each boss monster you beat rewards you with an increase to your life and power meter. This ends up making the side-scrolling levels a little more bearable because you have a lot more health and you can just spam your atomic breath attack a lot more, but they don't do much in the boss battles because the bosses seem to level up with you as you progress through the game. After you've cleared all the monsters on your current planet, you have to move Godzilla and Mothra to the exit space and then on to the next planet. There are 7 planets in total. You've got the Earth, the Mars, the Jupiter, the Saturn, the Uranus, the Pluto, and Planet X. While each planet has slightly different looking levels and different grid layouts, the gameplay is basically the same slog over and over again. And to make things even worse, with each planet you advance to, not only do you have to defeat a new boss monster, but each boss monster from each previous planet has to be beaten all over again. That means you have to have this tentacle slap fight with Gizora 7 times. The game certainly isn't horrible. I mean, it's fun to level up and blast through some of the stages with Godzilla's atomic breath, but it might be one of the most repetitive games I've ever played. Each level is basically the same thing, and to beat the game, you're gonna have to go through like 100 of them. Even if you clear an entire planet with, say, Godzilla, and you move him all the way to the end of the planet, you still have to go back and move Mothra across the grid as well, and beat the same levels over again. Probably the biggest slap in the face is when you finally beat the game. After going through this grueling ordeal and coming out victorious, the bad guys have the gall to continue talking shit even after they've lost. There's not a lot of positive things I can say about this game. The character and boss monster sprites are large and impressive for the NES, but their animation is almost non-existent. The gameplay sometimes borders on being fun, but after a while it just gets boring. The game is also a pretty buggy mess. Lots of glitches can occur during boss fights that sometimes make them easier and sometimes makes them infuriating. One interesting thing I can say about the game is that its terrible glitches inspired a fairly popular creepypasta called, well, the NES Godzilla creepypasta. It's really hard for me to recommend this game for anyone, not even the most diehard of Godzilla fans, because as a hardcore fan myself, I'm having a hard time convincing myself it's a good game, because it's not. Oh, Godzilla dude, how could you do me like this? I feel like it would be so easy to make an awesome Godzilla game. Just rip off something like Rampage and add in a few Kaiju boss battles. But instead we ended up with this disappointment. Alright, next up, let's see if King Kong can do any better than Godzilla did. Developed and published by Konami, King Kong 2 was released for the Japanese Famicom in December of 1986. You might be wondering, King Kong 2? Well, what happened to King Kong 1? Well, this game is actually based off of the movie King Kong Lives, which was a sequel to the 1976 remake of King Kong. In countries outside of the US, the movie was titled King Kong 2, so that solves that mystery. According to Wikipedia, after the events of the first movie, King Kong is now stuck in a 10-year-long coma. However, after receiving an artificial heart and a blood transfusion from Lady Kong, our King Kong wakes up with the desire to rescue the now captive Lady Kong and, I guess, procreate with her? Wow, okay. Well, to accomplish this goal, Kong is going to have to fight through 8 enemy-ridden worlds, defeat all the hidden bosses, collect their keys, and unlock the boss room on the 9th and final world. Each of these worlds consists of multiple screens connected in a different maze-like pattern, very similar to a Legend of Zelda dungeon. Each world has a different layout, enemies, and destructible objects for Kong to smash through. Kong is equipped with 2 attacks, a short-range punch and the ability to throw rocks that drop from fallen enemies. When it comes to busting up the environment, not only can Kong use his attacks, but he can also jump on things to clear them out as well. Doing this is essential to finding hidden doorways. These doors can lead you to different worlds, boss rooms, and even really vital power-ups like artificial hearts that can fully heal Kong and significantly increase his maximum health, rock cases that increase the number of rocks Kong can hold, power rocks which increase the amount of damage the rocks cause, and speed potions which can stack up to 3 times and greatly increase Kong's agility. I thought the addition of these power-ups was really cool, as it gave you a reason to explore each world, and the stronger Kong got, the more fun the game got. The speed potion was definitely my favorite power-up. Stacking 3 of them really increases Kong's agility and it makes getting through the stages a lot easier. There are some other useful items you can collect like health hearts, extra lives, and a Mario-style power star. Now, unless you look up a map or draw one out yourself, the 9 labyrinth-like worlds can be a bit frustrating. Even if you clear out an entire room, as soon as you leave and come back, all the enemies will respawn. This can make it pretty annoying when you hit a dead end and need to retrace your steps. However, this feature wasn't all that bad. Most of the time I'd be jumping and running through rooms as quickly as possible, but I also found that at times, I'd be low on health or rocks, and that farming and respawning easy rooms really helped when preparing for an upcoming boss fight. Like I mentioned earlier, each boss is located behind a hidden door. Once you enter, you can take a stab at taking down the boss and collecting its key. And something I thought was really nice was that if you found yourself struggling on a boss, you can just leave the room, find some additional power-ups, and come back later to kick his ass. The boss battles aren't that creative, you mostly just throw rocks and punch them while trying to avoid taking too much damage. Once you get enough health power-ups though, you can basically stand right in front of each boss and ignore their attacks. And to be honest, I love this. Kong's supposed to be this badass monkey, why not let him feel powerful? Once you've gotten through all 9 worlds and unlocked the last door, you fight the final boss, which strangely looks like the defensive line of a football team. Take them out and you can finally rescue the love of your life, Lady Kong. And wow, look at that! Procreation successful. Overall, I thought the game was a blast, which shouldn't come as a big surprise considering Konami made some of my favorite games for the NES. It was fun smashing through things as Kong, getting stronger, and taking down bosses. The game was challenging without being punishing, and I really appreciate that balance. If I had to make one recommendation, it would be to just look up a map while you play the game. While it's not necessary, I think it just helps to speed the game along without diminishing the challenge. It's a shame this one never made it to the US because I really recommend trying it if you haven't already. With the exception of the title screen, all the text is in English, so there's no translation necessary. Just pick it up and enjoy. So there you have it. If you made it this far, you can probably already guess the winner of our little Nintendo showdown. As much as I hate to say it, King Kong 2 was definitely the better game. While Godzilla wasn't terrible, it wasn't great either. I rarely had fun playing this game. It had such potential, but just never lived up to it. On the other hand, with King Kong, I just had a blast smashing and punching through each world. The game looked good, sounded good, and it played good. It's just the clear winner. But what do you guys think? Have you played either game? Did you like them, dislike them? Let me know in the comments down below. And that's gonna be it for me. If you enjoyed this video, please sure to leave a thumbs up. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm so close to 100 subscribers, so if you can hit that subscribe button, it'll really help. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.